clinical trials are very, very exciting, and in cancer therapy, clinical trials are really kind of a bedrock of what we do. But it's a really long road for clinical trials, and so any therapy, so any drug, any device, really anything that we use for cancer treatment starts way back in the beginning, and it starts either usually in the lab, where we're doing experiments on cells, on mice, on whatever we're testing out. Say it's a drug, years and years and years of experimentation in the lab, and once it gets to the point where we have shown that there's enough data to show there's activity, that it's safe in that environment, then we can take it to human clinical trials. So that first part can take a really long time, just getting to that part. Once researchers have gotten approval to go into clinical trials, then we have really the most commonly that you hear of are 3 phases of clinical trials. So phase 1 clinical trials, you're basically taking these new drugs or new devices and you're testing it out on a population of patients who have potentially gone through a lot of different other therapies. And then in kind of a phase 2 and phase 3 setting, we're looking to see how this drug, is this drug equally as good, potentially better than whatever our standard of care currently is. And that time frame from being in the lab to getting to a phase 3 clinical trial and then getting approved can be upwards of 10 years, if not more. And that's a really long time, but we're trying to get better at that. But what's exciting about clinical trials is that it offers potentially new treatments, and so every patient should ask their doctor about clinical trials if they could potentially qualify for a clinical trial. Standard of care is always going to be given on a clinical trial, and so it's not like we're not experimenting on patients. They're always going to get the standard of care. It's just an exciting opportunity not only to provide them with new care, but also to help scientific research as a whole. From the doctor point of view, we have to remember to encourage patients to participate in clinical trials. Patients can only know what they're offered, and so it's our responsibility to offer clinical trials. So for example, at Lancaster General Health, we have a research coordinator that identifies all the new patients in our practice and old patients in our practice to see if they could potentially qualify for one of the clinical trials we have. And so that's really important. From a patient perspective, clinical trials are scary, and so the idea, once you're on them, they're not scary, but the idea of them can be scary. Part of our job is to educate people kind of what the benefits of clinical trials are, both for themselves and for the scientific community as a whole. So I think a lot of it is education, just really having people understand why they're important, not just for them, but for everyone.